Hello and welcome to Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC and your daily reminder that the Reds are top of the league. Tonight, we travel to Paris, take on PSG in the Champions League last 16. It's a big game. It's going to be a tough game. It should be an exciting game. You'd imagine it's two teams that want to attack, want to go forward. Two teams with a lot of creativity. Two teams with a lot of attacking threat. We know where ours comes from. We know where theirs comes from. It will come down to which defense does the better job, really. If we do a better job stopping their attackers than they do stopping ours, we'll win the game. Now, we know we have no Joe Gomez, and we know we have no Connor Bradley. Neither of them are starters anyway. So they're not massive misses on the night, but it would be nice to have them as options available. The question mark we have tonight is over Cody Gakpo, who didn't train yesterday, has the ankle issue that he's been working through. I'm not sure he was going to start anyway. I kind of feel like Arne was going to start Mo and Diaz with Dom sort of as the false nine and Curtis in midfield and play that four-man midfield that he used against Man City. I feel like that's what he was planning. But I could be completely wrong. He might go with something that we weren't expecting at all. It should be a good game. We'll have post-match Raw immediately afterwards. So it'll be out tonight. If you're a subscriber to Anfield Index Pro, you can obviously listen live on Discord. What else do we have today? We have the report on Arne Slot's red card against Everton and the findings of the investigation. Now, Arne apparently said that he hoped Michael Oliver was proud of his performance and that if we didn't win the league, he was going to blame Michael Oliver. Now, Arne says he doesn't really remember saying these things. I think Michael Oliver's made up some stuff because Michael Oliver clearly lost the run of himself. Michael Oliver's had a really bad sort of 6 weeks, 2 months kind of thing here. So he sends off Lewis Skelly in the Arsenal-Wolves game. Now, personally, I think that was the correct decision. That challenge is late and it's high. And it's a little bit dangerous as well. Arsenal fans respond by sending death threats to him and his family. Then it gets overturned and he's made to look incompetent. Then he referees Liverpool versus Everton at Goodison and he makes himself look incompetent with one of the worst refereeing displays you're ever likely to see in your whole entire life. Then he has the head loss after the game where he just loses control, loses complete control of the situation. There's the skirmish between the players started by Curtis and Doucouré. There's the incident with Arne, the incident with Sipka, and he leaves the field and he looks properly rattled. And then this past weekend, he's refereeing Crystal Palace versus Millwall. You're 6 or 7 minutes into the game. There's a ball over the top. The Millwall goalkeeper comes flying out, catches Mateta in the head with his boot. Now, Mateta, bear in mind, is about 6'3", which will tell you how high off the ground this goalkeeper's foot is if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go and watch it because, it's the worst challenge you're likely to see. Mateta ends up with a gash on his head that requires 23 stitches. And Michael Oliver waved play on. It's not like he gave a foul and didn't send the fella off. Michael Oliver waved play on. He thought it was fine. Then VAR has to step in. He has to send the fella off. Mateta has to go off on a stretcher and go directly to hospital. Now, most Premier League clubs, or all Premier League clubs, if a player needs stitches, there's a doctor on staff who can do that. that can be done at the stadium. They can be looked after at the stadium. Mateta had to go to hospital, which tells me that the gash was quite deep and they had to stitch inside and out, which is nasty work. And this fella thought, oh no, that's okay. Play on. And now this coming weekend, he's not assigned a Premier League game. So he has finally been punished after his incompetency. Nothing was done about his incompetency when he refereed our game. He just made a show of himself. But all of this began when the Arsenal fans started throwing death threats his way. Now, Michael Oliver, I'm no fan of the fella, but no one deserves death threats for doing their job, even if they do it poorly. But this man is meant to be the gold standard of refereeing in the country. And he's been this bad for the last number of weeks, which tells me that those death threats and criticism from the Arsenal fans, that really, really got to him and really rattled him. And it's just one more thing that stacks up against that fan base. An absolutely terrible set of lads. Anyway, speaking of referees, the referee for the Carabao Cup final has been announced, and it will be John Brooks. Brooks is okay. He's not great. He's not bad. He refereed our game against Chelsea earlier this season. The VAR will be Atwell, who's not good. Eddie Smart and Nick Greenhaig will be the referee's assistants. Darren England will be the fourth official. And Cian Massey Ellis, who's actually, I think, the best referee's assistant, or one of the two along with Darren McCann in the league. She's going to be the assistant VAR. The referee for the Southampton game, we also know it's Lewis Smith. Now, this will only be his fifth match in the Premier League. He's a relatively new referee. We haven't had him before. So he did... we haven't had him in the Premier League game. In a Premier League game before. He did referee the game against Accrington Stanley. So, yeah, we'll see how he gets on. Strong Liverpool youth side trashed at home in Cup semi-final. Despite fielding a relatively strong under-18 side, Liverpool were beaten 3-0 at home by Reading's under-18s in the Premier League League Cup semi-finals. Okay. So Trainiani wasn't in the squad because he's obviously away with the first team. But Mashur was in goal. Pinnington and Nallo at centre-back. Alvin Ayman in midfield. Rio started on the left. Yeah, it is a pretty strong team. And we're beaten 3-0. That's not great. Not great at all. What else do we have on This Is Anfield? Arne Slot was asked about Kvicha. Obviously, we were linked with Kvicha in January, and he basically just said, I can't really talk about whether we were interested or not, but he's a great player. There does seem to be a little bit of doubt over whether Kvicha is going to start tonight because he's been dealing with a knee issue. That dates back to his Napoli days, but if he's not fit, they still have plenty of other options because, you know, when you've got all the money in the world, you're going to have some debt. Arne Slot has sensible response to Michael Oliver's different version of red card. Hopefully just to say he had no comment. What Turuendo said about his lack of minutes. He basically just said he'd be ready when he's called on. He'd like to play more, but he'll be ready when he's called on, which is the right way to do it. Newcastle have two more key players confirmed to miss the Carabao Cup. So obviously Anthony Gordon sent off for being a brainless dickhead. Now Lewis Hull has been ruled out. because of injury. And that's big because he's had a really good season. He's had a really, really good season. But he's got a bruise to a bone in his foot by the sounds of things. Oh, he's been ruled out for the rest of the season. There must be a fracture to a bone in his foot. He had been dealing with that for a little while. So now they've got either Matt Targett or Tino Livramento, or they could throw Dan Burn up at left back, but only if Sven Botman is fit. And it doesn't sound like Botman is going to be ready to go. Now, Isak, they're obviously trying to work through this ongoing injury that he had that caused him to miss the league game against us. We'll see if he's fit. We'll see. You don't like to see any player get injured, but I wouldn't mind if he missed that cup final. If Livramento plays left back, it means Kieran Trippier will be the right back, which means that's a significant weak link for us to attack.